ShadowPublications.com presents Derelict, Tomb, Book 2 of the Derelict Saga. Written and performed by Paul E. Cooley. Chapter 1. Kelly checked her O2 reserves. She had 30 minutes left before she needed a refill. That meant Elliot probably had less than 10. If they didn't find some oxygen inside Mira, her squad would suffocate before Gunny and Talby could mount a rescue. With Carbonaro holding Elliot a few meters behind her, she had to make sure that any remaining pressure inside the shuttle bay didn't push loose equipment or debris out the door and knock them off the ship. She moved a little more to the side of the door and waited. "Opening now," Dickerson said. The large Marine's voice sounded in control, but Callie thought she heard a tremble of fear in the man's drawl. "Make sure you're secure." "Just open it, Marine," Callie growled. He didn't respond except to punch the manual switch. The large pockmarked doors began sliding aside, revealing a growing sliver of absolute darkness. Kelly prepared for debris to fly out as the bay depressurized, but nothing escaped the darkness. She shivered. A small part of her wanted Dickerson to close the doors again, and for the squad to risk the long journey back to their ship, the Solar Federation Marine Corps, SFMC, vessel S&R Black. But their skiff, a relatively small transport they'd used to travel from their ship to the Mira, was destroyed. They were low on oxygen, as well as suit thruster fuel. If they tried to escape Mira and return to S&R Black, they would die. The gap in the doors widened. Using her implanted block, she sent a signal to turn her suit lights on to maximum. Bright white light stabbed into the 2-meter wide gash of darkness. A shape 10 meters inside the bay made her catch her breath. Kelly activated her heads-up display, HUD, and changed her vision from normal to low light. Suddenly, she could see much more. The suit's ambient light showed her the shape for what it was, a loader floating in 0G. The loader was empty of its cargo, but several pine-cone-shaped objects floated near it. Not a good sign, she thought. Kelly trained her eyes beyond the loader to see what else was floating near her, but made out nothing more than shapes further in the bay. "What the hell?" Dickerson asked. She turned and saw that he had moved beside her. "Hang back a bit, Dickerson. If something comes at us, you'll be the only protection for Carb and Elliot." "Aye, Corporal," he said. Kelly took a deep breath and walked into the bay using her magnetic boots, her vibroblade held parallel to her body. The suit's gloves kept her hand from shaking, but did nothing to stop the gooseflesh popping up on her skin. The pine cones, 4 of them, floated around the loader like misshapen moons. From their travels on the skiff across Mira's surface, she thought the strange objects were attracted to electromagnetism. She sent a nerve impulse to the boots and gloves to turn their magnetic fields to the lowest level possible while maintaining her footing on the atmosphere deck. The magnetic boots felt lighter and her steps more awkward. In 0G, you had to plan ahead, even if you were attached to something. The lack of resistance meant every movement was relatively lethargic compared to normal gravity and atmosphere. The floating pine cones moved infinitesimally, but she'd still have to plan her way around them. Something told her they were dangerous, and she didn't want to get any closer to them than necessary. She slowly made her way to the side of the loader, stepping as far as she could to the shuttle bay wall. Kelly froze as she watched and waited. The pine cones continued to float without moving towards her. Kelly slowly let out the breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding, shook away the sudden fear that had made her stop, and activated a side camera on her suit. Her HUD lit up with an image in the bottom left corner, focused on the objects so she could keep walking forward and keep an eye on the pine cones at the same time. It didn't completely dispel the fear, but it made it a little easier to deal with. The bay, still mostly shrouded in darkness even through the HUD's low-light filters, was a disaster area. Several other magnetic loaders floated freely above the deck. Steel crates floated near the ceiling as well as at waist level. Whatever had decompressed the bay had tossed the place like grains of sand in a Martian windstorm. Kelly continued walking, her eyes swiveling to the sides of the bay. There had to be emergency O2 stations in here, just had to be. But the first 10 meters into the bay showed nothing.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?